is Joy News Prime.
Hello and welcome to the program. This is your election headquarters. It is 40 days to the election, but coming up tonight on Joy News Prime, the National Democratic Party files a fresh suit at the Human Rights Court requesting for enforcement of fundamental human rights following the disqualification of the party's flag bearer by the Electoral Commission. Meanwhile, Supreme Court orders Electoral Commission to make available collation sheets for parties for both presidential and parliamentary elections. Come November 1st, nurses and midwives across the country will begin series of protests leading to total withdrawal of services on November 15 if government fails to address issues affecting them.
And coming up in business, Minerals Commission calls for collaboration with the Association of Ghana Industries AGI to strategically explore many more opportunities in the mining sector.
And in Parliament, local governance law passed. Despite protests from minority members, the news is also available on DSTV, GoTV, and across Europe on ABN television. In our first story, the Supreme Court has ordered the Electoral Commission to make available collation sheets for parties for both presidential and parliamentary elections. The suit, filed by a lawyer and former research director of Parliament, Kwesi Nyametiase Eshan, asks the court to compel the EC to do so to make the polls transparent. The court, presided over by Justice William Atuguba, granted the request, adding there were inconsistencies in the regulations for this year's polls. There is more in the following report by Joseph Akable.
The suit filed by Kwesi Nyametiase Eshan was asking that the Supreme Court compels the Electoral Commission to provide a collation sheet for the presidential election to political parties and agents at the close of polls. Now, he had argued in court that a look at the CI 94, which is the regulation for this year's polls, failed to provide that the Electoral Commission makes available the said documents to the political parties and agents, even though it orders the Electoral Commission to make available the documents in terms of the parliamentary polls. Now, the court, in its ruling read by Justice Atuguba, ordered that the Electoral Commission makes available the said documents to the political parties and agents. The judge pointed out that a look at the CI shows that there are inconsistencies between the recommendations made for the parliamentary polls as well as those made for the presidential polls. The judge further directed that lawyers for the Electoral Commission, led by Thaddeus Sori, confer with lawyers for the plaintiff, led by Akoto Ampao, after which the two counsels will identify the inconsistencies, for which reason the suit was filed in court, for this inconsistency to be rectified, which the said correction will be made available to the court, after which the court will rule the said corrections be made into law. Lawyer for the plaintiff, Akoto Ampao, speaking to the press after today's proceedings, said the ruling was a victory for democracy.
The court has directed that we, all the parties, meet and work out the corrections and report back to the court so that it can then the court can rule on it, and then that becomes the basis for the conduct of the 2016 election. So I think that all Ghanaians should be very happy that we are moving towards an electoral process that is free, fair, transparent, and credible. No, the copies of the collation sheets, this is also very critical, will be given to all the parties, both for parliamentary and presidential.
And we'll come back to issues at the court today. But moving on, new Patriotic Party parliamentary candidate for Laura constituency, Anthony Abayefa Kabo, has pledged to focus on programs that will alleviate poverty among his people if given the nod. He intends to focus more on nursery education. Addressing supporters of the party at Laura in the Upper West region, he said any person who invests in the education of children is investing in the future, promising that if given the nod, he will ensure the children in the constituency have a solid foundation to enable them move forward. Rafiq Salam has more.
Several big sources of the MPP party, including Acting General Secretary John Boadu, Asante Nio Member of Parliament Kennedy Ajapong, and Asante Regional Chairman of the party Bernard Nchibosiako, better known as Chairman Wuntumi, joined the MPP faithful in the Laura constituency for a second-term parliamentary bid of former youth organizer Anthony Abai-Fakabo. Bernard Nchibosiako chastised the governing NDC for the fallen standards of education in the country, attributing it to the withdrawal of allowances of teacher trainees by the government.
If somebody says he's going to give you quality education, and then you go and do the exams, and you don't pass, you go and do your exams, and the teachers, even the teachers' money, you know, the President Mahama is the incentive he's supposed to give it to them. He said he's not going to give it to them again. You know, the allowances, he cut it off. But look, if the teachers are not happy, how can they happily touch you for you to pass your exam for you to become a teacher or a doctor?
Acting General Secretary of the MPP, John Boadu, said the difference between the MPP and the NDC was crystal clear in terms of who could develop the country better than the other. He called on citizens of Laura to vote massively for Nana Akufo-Addo and the party's parliamentary candidate for the constituency.
Munina munim de Nanado and the new Patriotic Party. Ewa Emagana.
We are all aware of the good intentions of Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP for this country. Our achievements during our term of office is unparalleled. I'm sure if the NDC is given 400 years, they cannot match up with what we have done. We need a member of parliament like Anthony Abai-Fakabo.
Into the bedroom of the president. And if you want such a person, it is Anthony Abai-Fakabo.
Anthony Abai-Fakabo said if given the nod, he will focus on programs that will alleviate the poverty of the people, but with much emphasis on necessary education.
The children of Laura are the future of Laura. Any politician who invests in children is investing in the future. I, Anthony Kabo, I want to invest in nursery education and make sure ATPP will get the right foundation so they can go forward and forward and forward.
Other speakers at the lunch were Asante Nio MP Kennedy Ajapong and former MP for Laura Nondom constituency Ambrose P. Derry. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Laura.
Now, the People's National Convention, PNC, has filed a suit in court contesting its disqualification by the Electoral Commission. As you may be aware, the flag bearer of the PNC, Dr. Edward Mahama, was one of those who was disqualified by the Electoral Commission for certain administrative errors on their forms. And now, the PNC had earlier written to the Commission for the Commission to withdraw their disqualification of Dr. Mahama, and it gave the Commission 48 hours. That has elapsed. It had threatened to take the matter up in court, and today it has filed the matter in court. Felix Akweyam joins me with details of the writ that the party has filed in court. Felix, so what relief is the party seeking?
So essentially, lawyer for the PNC, Dr. Redmond Atukwa, that filed this motion at the High Court just couple of hours ago, and essentially they are seeking 9 reliefs. First of all, they want a declaration that the EC's decision to bar their candidate from contesting the elections is unlawful. It also infringes on his right to contest as president. And there's also another interesting one which says that the EC is trying to take away their flag bearers' right, you know, to work, and the lawyer is arguing that
his right to work
as a politician, and he cites the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and even indeed our own constitution. He says that a declaration that the first applicant's right to work as enshrined in Article 24 of the 1992 Constitution, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the International Covenant of Economic and Social Rights, has been violated by the respondents in that their unlawful conduct has effectively crushed the first applicant's endeavor to work as a politician. So essentially they are saying that that right has been violated. And another relief also that they are seeking is also to prevent the EC from going ahead with the balloting, which is, I mean, a relief that the others who've also filed similar motions are also requesting for. Another relief here is that they want an order to restrain the EC. They want an order, you know, to compel the EC to accept the nomination forms of Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama. And so basically these are a few of the reliefs they are seeking in the 9 reliefs that they are seeking from the High Court.
All right, thank you very much, Felix Akoyam, with details of that writ, which was filed by the People's National Convention. Asante Nio Otumfuose Tutu II says the Electoral Commission should be partly blamed for the proliferation of political parties in the country. He says failure of the Commission to fully enforce the Political Parties Law, Act 574, has led to the springing up of groups in the name of parties. The Asante Nio was addressing officials of the Electoral Commission, led by Chairperson Charlotte Osei, at the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs on Wednesday.
Section 9 of the Political Parties Law, Act 574 of 2000, requires political parties to ensure they have branches in all 10 regions. According to a 2013 report of the EC, out of the 23 registered political parties, only the new Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress met the physical presence requirement. About 22 political parties and individuals picked up forms to contest the presidential slot of the 2016 elections. Otumfuose Tutu reminded the Electoral Commission to be mindful of the need to enforce the law to bring sanity. He also wants the Electoral Commission to hold political parties to provisions on submission of audited accounts to the Commission. In Otumfuose's assertion, the Electoral Commission is the cause of proliferation of political parties in the country. His admonition to the EC is to be cautious in registering and approving political parties, making sure they satisfy all requirements under the Political Parties Law, Act 574.
And we do apologize for the quality of that sound there, but you heard the a report on the Asante Nio, blaming the Electoral Commission for the springing up of several political parties. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. As always, this is your election headquarters, and thank you for staying tuned in to us. Now, the campaign team of the Greater Accra NDC says it plans to secure 1.5 million votes in the region in the December elections. Speaking at a forum in Accra, former Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Sylvester Mensah, said the party can consolidate and build on its previous performance, citing developmental projects undertaken in the region. He charged the electorate to pay attention to the good works of the NDC and ensure that the love that they have for the party does not waver.
Sylvester Mensah outlined some of the achievements of the NDC in the Greater Accra region. He says the story of the works of President Mahama must be told by Ghanaians who have experienced the great achievements.
We recognize the importance of the media in informing and educating the public on government's achievements in the past 4 years, and giving the opportunity what more the NDC government can achieve for the good people of Ghana. Today we wish to discuss with you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media, some of the great achievements of the Mahama-led government, specifically within the Greater Accra region. We have heard of several developments all over, but the Greater Accra region is so satisfied with the developments in the region, and we think that it is important that we share with you the reasons why Greater Accra is going to deliver on its mandate of achieving 1.5 million votes in this election and also secure 25 seats for Parliament. Particularly in the health sector, the Greater Accra region has witnessed developments such as the University of Ghana Teaching Hospital with 617 beds, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the former Ridge Hospital that we call it, with 420 beds, the Dangme West District Hospital in Dodua with 120 beds, the Domi Kwabenya Medina Hospital located near Atomic Energy with 104 beds, the Police Hospital Expansion Project, the Gapuha Maritime Hospital in Tema, polyclinics at Adenta, Ashama, Botiano, Udumang, and Sege, each with 30 beds, Amasaman Health Center, numerous chiefs compound, and the supply of numerous medical equipment to various hospitals, including X-ray machines, digital mammography machines, and MRI machines, CT scans, and a host of others. The refurbishment of the Kolubu Teaching Hospital, the General Surgery Theater, the babies unit, and until recently, His Excellency the President made a personal donation of 300,000 Ghana cedis to the Cardiothoracic Center.
Executive Director of the National Service Secretariat, Dr. Kwesa White, says Ghanaians can be assured that no criminal activities will occur, citing improved security situations in the country.
We have seen the police at night patrolling various cities, various towns and cities, various vicinities. We have also seen various roadblocks, road checkpoints across the major cities in the country. These were not being done for the fun of it. They were being done because of the care the president and the government has for Ghanaians, and invariably the need to ensure that Ghanaians go to bed and sleep sound, knowing fully well that the government to whom they have entrusted their mandates is watching over them as they sleep.
Now, wife of the new Patriotic Party running mate Samira Bawumia has justified her call to the electorate in the Eastern region to accept freebies by officials of the governing National Democratic Congress who seek their vote. Samira Bawumia, who was earlier this week addressing voters in the Eastern region where she has been campaigning for the party, urged the gathering to go ahead and accept items given them by the NDC as they appeal for their votes, or to vote them out nonetheless. Well, when our Eastern Regional Correspondent Maxwell Kudako of our sister station, Adom FM, sat down for a chat with her, she insisted voters would be doing no wrong if they accepted the gifts she claimed are being purchased with state funds.
Well, I'm not alleging that they are sharing, because they are actually sharing goodies, if we recollect. The president himself admitted that the outboard motors they were sharing were from even state funds. They're using state funds for their campaign. And we see it everywhere, the cylinders, the cloth. Where's all that money coming from? If they have that sort of money and they meant well, they would have invested in the people. So you don't impoverish people for 8 years and then turn around and give them goodies. So I say, let's take the goodies. Why not? Because the corruption, where do you think the monies are coming from? The state funds that are unaccounted for and everything. In my mind, I believe that's where the monies that they are using to buy these goodies are coming from. So, of course, the people should take it, but they should vote wisely, and they're going to do just that.
What has been the response so far? What are you telling the Zongo communities in Ghana?
Well, it's been exciting, it's been eye-opening. And it's encouraging because the people in the Zongo, as we all know, when you hear Zongo, you think of poverty, you think of deprivation, and you think of suffering. And it shouldn't be the case. The Zongo community is made up of vibrant, active, hardworking people. That's why the MPP says we're bringing the Zongo Development Fund to do what is right for the people of the Zongos. So I'm going around as a Muslim lady, as a young person who cares about Ghana, who cares about the people in the Zongos as well, to preach that message of development. And that's what we vote for. We vote for parties or persons to come to help us to move forward, not to stay behind and be stagnant and be suffering, which is what the Zongo people are experiencing under John Mahama.
There are a section of the Ghanaian population who believe that the country is broke to the extent that Nana Akufo-Addo cannot actualize his vision for the people of Ghana within the 4-year period. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, to start with, if there are people, a section of the people who really think so, then it's an indictment on the government of the NDC. But having said that, then the only thing is to redeem this country by kicking them out. Because if they can be this bad in 8 years, then another 4 years will be disastrous. But having said that, I believe that Nanado solutions that he's offering in the MPP, they are carefully thought through. They're projects that we can afford as a nation. We've done the numbers, a lot of thought went in, a lot of calculations, and I know because
we're staying with politics, and the National Democratic Party has filed a fresh suit at the Human Rights Court requesting for enforcement of fundamental human rights. This follows on the heels of the striking out of the party's suit challenging the disqualification by the Electoral Commission. An Accra High Court, presided over by Justice George Kumsin, earlier today struck out the suit on procedural grounds, but the NDP has filed a fresh suit requesting for enforcement of the fundamental human rights. The party's Deputy Communications Director, Ernest Busu Bempa, was expected to join us on the line. He is not on the line right now, but as and when we do get him, we will speak to him on this developing story. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with business news. You're welcome back, and time for business now. Emmanuel Abuajiriafe joins me in the studio. Emmanuel, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you too?
I'm very good. So okay. What's happening in the world of business? Well, in
business, the Chamber of Mines is calling for a closer collaboration with the AGI to explore more opportunities in the mining industry.
Okay. All right. I'm sure you have lots more beyond that for us.
Sure,
okay. Take it away.
All right. Thank you. And thanks for joining me. Now, CEO of the Chamber of Mines, Dr. Suleiman Koni, has called for collaboration between the Commission between the Chamber and the Association of Ghana Industries to come up with strategic plans to help the industry players explore many more opportunities in the mining sector. He made a call on the final day of the AGI Local Content and Investment Summit in Accra.
In order to maximize the country's earnings from the mineral sector, policymakers have been brainstorming on various issues to help improve local content participation. This was at the second day of the Association of Ghana Industries Local Content and Investment Summit in Accra. Speaking on the topic quality and standards as the key to position suppliers for procurement opportunities within multinationals and across West Africa, Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Suleiman Koni, noted that the mining sector has many untapped potentials. He said the plans taken must be incorporated into the National Development Plan for the country.
You can't be, toying around with things which have not been tried and tested. But if indeed it has been, why not? We'll be more than willing to engage them and link them up with these prospective investors, because at the end of the day, it is our country. We need to exploit that resource, because that for me is a passionate thing. And that's one of the things I've been talking about. My presentation, I talked about collaborating with the AGI to look at strategic inputs, try and influence the National Development Planning Commission, 40-year development plan. How can we position mining? So we are looking at mining in an integrated fashion so that it can have a pride of place, because you know that you can link it. Steve talked about linkages. Link it up to other manufacturing opportunities.
On his part, co-chairman of the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Mateyao, said Ghana may fail to derive maximum benefits if policy initiatives are not in place.
You see, when a country discovers a natural resource, gold, diamond, oil, whatever, there are certain things that you must do. And you must do them in a logical sequence. The first thing you do is what you call the national strategic visioning, in terms of what role you expect the resource to play in your national economy. Having developed that, you now translate that vision into policy and policy objectives. Now you step back to look at what law do you need to pursue these policy objectives. And then the regulations will detail out how the laws are to be applied. You cannot do them in any reverse order. But what do we do in this country? We passed the Minerals and Mining Act 703 in 2006 and passed the Minerals and Mining Policy in 2014. So you ask yourself, all this while, what policy objectives was the Minerals and Mining Act pursuing when there was not a clearly articulated policy in place?
The two-day conference, which ends on Thursday, reflects over developments and progress made since the first edition in 2010.
You're welcome back. Have you ever or have you been experiencing power outages of late? Well, the Electricity Company of Ghana has some explanations. At a media briefing on Thursday, the ECG dismissed suggestions that the current unannounced power outages is load shedding. They, however, assured of stable power supply in the second week of November.
Several parts of the country have been experiencing intermittent interruption in power supply recently. This has led to many Ghanaians questioning whether the Electricity Company of Ghana is shedding load. In response to these concerns, the ECG says the cut in power supply as a result of ongoing planned maintenance work. Director of Operations at the ECG, Engineer Tete Ankama Okain, explains.
But the climax was on the Sunday when we had two challenges. At the Malam BSP, there were challenges with some of the equipment, and we needed to work on them urgently. But you know, when the Malam BSP goes off, a large area within western part of Accra to Kaswa and Sawam, all of them go off. At the same time, we had another challenge, and we had to put up the station at Bachuna, which spells the Spintex Road and some other areas. So it happened that western part of Accra was off. Some parts in the eastern was also off. So it raised a lot of... The first in which we normally get outages and is when we have planned maintenance. And then we want to execute that planned maintenance. When you go around, you do inspections, sometimes you can foresee a challenge going to come from somewhere. Depending on how serious the challenge is. If it's urgent, that one there's no way you can give an announcement before you do the repairs. Immediately you shut down and do it. Then the other cause is where sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's intentional. People tamper with our network.
He, however, assured of stable supply in the second week of November.
Our suppliers of energy have assured us that there is energy coming. So we, based on that, we are going ahead to plan our jobs and our things to ensure that we will be able to give reliable supply to our customers. Looking at the period in which we are trying to bring forward all our planned maintenance so that we can finish everything by the first or second week in November for 2016. So that after that, then we know that we don't have any planned maintenance to do. If there's anything, that will only be emergencies or something critical which has come up.
Now, if you need to visit the hospital for any health-related issue, you may have to do it now or wait a while longer. That's because come November 1st, nurses and midwives across the country will begin a series of protests leading to total withdrawal of services on November 15 if government fails to address issues affecting them.
The nurses have on a number of occasions complained about poor conditions of service. This has led to a number of demonstrations in the past. But as nurses at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital get ready to lay down their tools Friday, October 28, nurses across the country are threatening to embark on a nationwide industrial action if government fails to address issues confronting them. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is, among other things, calling on government and stakeholders to pay all outstanding allowances due their members, post unemployed bonded nurses, and provide basic medical supplies to the psychiatric hospitals across the country. The group is also calling for the restoration of trainee nurses' allowances of more than 150 cedis by end of October.
Having trained large numbers of nurses and midwives, and additionally bonding them makes it very difficult for them to be absorbed within the private sector. Many government-trained nurses and midwives are still sitting at home with their nursing and midwifery skills wasting away. You do not need to be informed, ladies and gentlemen, about the deplorable conditions at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital and the challenges the psychiatric nurse is going through to ensure that reasonable care and assurance is given to the unfortunate psychiatric patients and their relatives. And this trend cuts across all the psychiatric hospitals in the country. Currently, the lack of logistics at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital has made it impossible for nurses and midwives to carry out their duties. The association was the first to praise government's bold decision to restore the training allowances of nurses and midwives. We recall that we launched a firm protest against the decision of government to withdraw these allowances and never relented in pursuing just that cause, arguing that there has never been a time in the history of the health training institutions management other than now that the payment of these allowances have become highly imperative. With the pronouncement of government that these training allowances will be restored, we have not seen any action. We call on the government to do due diligence to this promise as a matter of urgency, because we did not receive the promise that these allowances will be paid during the second term of His Excellency the President.
The minority leader in Parliament, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, put up a strong protest in Parliament today against the passage of the local government bill, but that was not enough to stop the process. The bill passed on Thursday is expected to deepen the decentralization process and to harmonize the role of sector ministers in addressing needs of the assemblies. But the minority leader questioned the haste in the passage of the bill. He drew attention to the errors in the bill and the inadequate number of MPs on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I guess that fortifies the issue that you have raised. But having said that, this bill is about local governance and not local government alone. It is wider than local government. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, Article 240 of the Constitution, if I may, reads, Ghana shall have a system of local government and administration, in other words, local administration, which shall, as far as practicable, be decentralized. We are talking about two things at the same time, local government and local administration. So why are we only emphasizing on just one leg? That's my first observation. Mr. Speaker, so we're talking about, as I said, local government and local administration. I agree that to say local government workers may be more generic. But why do you even qualify it with a definite article that a representative of the local government workers and not a representative of local government workers? That then would embrace everybody. not the local government workers. Mr. Speaker, so I will propose that if we want to go along with that, it should be just a representative of local government workers nominated by the workers, and not the local government workers, because the employment of a definite article makes it appear as if you are referring to a local government workers that is already known. Yes. So my further amendment to that, because I believe that yes, it would be dangerous to mention a particular union, that is the local, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOSAG.
Now, 1 out of every 5 girls in Ghana are now married before the legal age of 18. The situation is worse in some regions like the Upper East region, where 1 out of every 4 now is married before that age. Joy News' Justice Bedu has been following the stories of girls who are now falling out of school into marriage in a new documentary titled Marrying Too Young. Here are excerpts.
Lewi mam nyaayi English sore la mada zili yir wasang mara kama if mara han kasang yil ana wakan wan so bulana ma English sore ba making school te ba ayo dana ma ba ala dana ma la wax ma kan king toke Marat sera de la obut la docteur ko madame cicira commence wala ya de rata wa atla ma ara dan masi ma dan pe zem la kulli so wala rawate ba break ma mis bek ma krisna wala so de marat oh na so mo Ara insi na basa makalian kung sekolah na. Wei mau kalau buki habalana, tak mau beras nggak belaga. Iku warna belikan, mana kau bela? Wan ma aku rada kan mesti maka kudukan. Yara la ba azuma o kabut ni la anis ina balat la ana o kayang serba so bela no bat la ni tena pot sera o kay mo lo boki ala para ken le blega baba yi tata
so when the women are come out to talk, they don't invite them. And they don't even value the women in the society. But when the men come out, like if I'm there to talk to people in the community, they will value them because they see to that the women are even the cause. They are the root of the problem. So if the women are come out to talk, they don't even listen. And then the women too, they don't even value them to be a responsible people in the society. So anytime they go out to talk, they will not even listen. They will not even tolerate to what they are saying. But any time that I come out or the men come out to talk to them, they always validate them because they always say the men are even supposed to talk to people, but not ladies. I am Adon Gilbert, a boy of 19 years, and I am ambassador for Youth Harvest. And then I'm working as a peer educator. Our main purpose is to fight against early marriage or teenage pregnancy in the communities. Sunday craze was generated from his brother when he's forced to go and marry. And when they gave birth, Sandra's husband was saying that he don't love her again. And then the man sacked her to come back to the family house. And he came without. He gave birth to 2 children. And then when the man sacked him to come here, he came without the children. And then he stayed here, and then what Sandra want to have, she's not having a kid. Like the time that Sandra was schooling, and then he got to marry. Sandra nowadays, he can't go back to school again. And which leads to a lot of problems in the house with the family members.
And those were excerpts of a Joy News documentary, Marrying Too Young. Now we're taking a short break. We'll be back with entertainment. Union. Time for entertainment now, and Ivy joins me with all that's happening on the entertainment front.
Okay, before we even go in, I just want to remind you how ready you are for what is happening on the 29th of October.
The biggest outdoor event, which is
I'm glad. So it means you're ready for it.
Old Schools Reunion.
Okay.
Yes.
So then I can go on what's going on in the entertainment, in the world of entertainment. Yes. Well, if you cast your mind back on Wednesday, 21st September 2016, Omahini Pozo, a former member of Nananum, passed on. Okay. Well, this weekend is when they'll be laying him in his final funeral rite. Well, we spoke with the spokesperson for the family on Hits 103.9 this morning, and this is what he has been saying.
On Friday, we will keep wake at Adenta Barrier at the House of Faith Ministries. On Saturday, the remains will be conveyed to the West African Senior High School for the final funeral rites. Omahini Pozo will later be buried at Amanfro near Dodowa. The Thanksgiving service is on Sunday at the House of Faith Ministries to climax the occasion.
So that was the spokesperson for the family of Omahini Pozo, who is telling us and running us through what will be happening over the weekend. Yes, they will be laying him in state and will be finding him a place for burial. Well, moving on, Shatawale believes that it is not right for any musician to throw his weight behind any political party. He says he's never going to do that. So this as a backstory, we spoke with Amanziba and Kwesi Oting. First, let's listen to what Amanziba had to say about musicians throwing your weight behind a political party.
We all, as mature citizens and as one people, have the right to make choices. Sometimes we put too much premium on the fact that if you are seen leaning toward a particular political group, then it means that you can't think to every ear. So what I preach is what I try to practice. We are all not in. This is the time that I think all of us will have to put our shoulders to the wheel and then just see who makes the mouth and look brighter instead of always casting a gloom on every move that a person makes. For me, what I do, I am just a messenger and using music as a vehicle to reach wherever I have. We are matured enough to even hug one another.
Time for sports now, and Gary L. Smith is our man in the house to give us all the tidbits in sports. Good evening, Gary.
Good evening, Naraba.
All right, so what do we start off with?
We have news from Ghana first. Former Ghana international Tony Bafo is speaking about, contracts and players and so on and so forth. And then we have a live interview from Egypt ahead of Egypt versus Ghana in the World Cup qualifiers. Thank you for joining us on the Sports on Prime. Hi, I'm Gary L. Smith. And we begin with Tony Bafo tonight. The news that he's been speaking about players and contracts and how the PFAG, the Professional Footballers Association of Ghana, are working to make things better.
It all has to do with the welfare for players. Welfare for players is not only about the salaries and everything, or insurance cover. Welfare for players is to help them also to maintain their fitness. Abroad, it's a normal thing that the unions give the opportunity to players to always stay in shape. We're even planning with the FIFPro Division Africa an out-of-contract tournament, you see, with most of the unions. And in the South, they played already a 4-union tournament with with Botswana, South Africa, and DRC Congo, with all the unions. We, in the up-and-coming future, we want to play a match against the Professional Footballers Association of Ivory Coast, against the out-of-contract players. Of course, then we will invite scouts, we invite coaches to come and have a look at the players. And I think 2 weeks ago, we had an exercise where Siki Akono was there, Coach Karim Zito was there, Bogdan from Vision FC, and they were already interested in a couple of players. This is the goal behind it. We know how it feels when a player is out of contract and when he's even injured, because most of the time then nobody cares about him.
I'm Arba Clinton. From all of us here, thank you for staying with us. We'll return same time tomorrow. Good night.
This is Joy News Prime.